Hey everyone, Solomon here. So today I want to talk to you about the business systemization method with AI. That's what the title shows here. But I think the main outcome that we want to get out of it is really how to build a business that runs without you and how to use AI to help you to achieve that. Specifically, there's three main points that we will try to get out of this video. The first one is, as the title suggests, how to systemize your business with AI. The second one is why AI will not save you time, why implementing AI alone without having your firm foundations will actually cause you more problems, will actually waste you more time than diving into creating all these shiny tools and don't add much business value. So we're going to show you exactly what a series of steps should be to build that strong foundation and where AI can come in. Which brings to my next point. This is the specific method itself. So I call it the value trinity framework. And the value trinity framework is what we talk about as the foundation that you need to start building. So by the way, stay to the end and I'll show you where you can download the templates and you can actually start implementing all of these today at the end of the video. All right. So real quick, just an introduction of myself. My name is Solomon. I run a company called Maker's Guild, and our mission is really to help companies who grow by doing more to start growing by doing less. So let's dive right into the video. Right, I want you to meet John. So John runs a marketing agency. He does about 100K a month and has a small team. Right now, from the outside, everything looks great. John started his business with an idea, but what he has created from his company is now what I call the golden handcuffs. So a day in the life of John typically looks like this. He wakes up, checks emails, responds to clients, and then team may ask him some questions about fulfillment and how to do this, how to do that, or access to this new tool or whatever. And then he goes into the office, continues to handle fulfillment, managing a team, making sure they do their job well, answering questions again, team meetings, sales meetings, answering questions again, putting out fires, finance this, finance that, CFO call, accountant call. We got to do all this spreadsheets and stuff, and then putting out fires again, right? So I call this the golden handcuffs is because a typical day in the life of John looks like the ball of mess you see on the right side of my screen. John started this business, like most entrepreneurs, is really because, for various reasons, but typically it starts off with a vision, right? I have a skill set that I enjoy doing, that I'm good at, that I want to give to the marketplace, that I want to give to more people, and more people can actually benefit from it, right? And because I'm such a skilled person, I'm good at this business that actually delivers great results. Now I built out this team, but the whole team is centered around me. It's still stuck on me. And so I've created a high paying job that I work 12 hours a day and I'm stuck in this ball of mess. This is why I call it golden handcuffs. So most business owners reach a certain point of success where this is what happens, right? Now, we can summarize that John can't really take a vacation, but you know, typically, so we mentioned, right? He works 60, 100 hours a week, 7 days a week. Even on breaks, he's thinking about work. But lucky for John, he has a partner, and not lucky for the partner. Both of them are equally as stressed and overworked, right? So typically, what then John and Joe would think is we've reached max capacity. What we need to do is to hire more people. We need to get more people in our team. Grow the team. We need to scale, whatever that means, right? But what hiring then becomes is you create new problems for yourself. You have to now not just do fulfillment and sales, but you have to do training, management, leadership, HR related stuff, making sure that the team culture is there, the vision is communicated properly, right? So hiring isn't necessarily solving the root cause problems, though it does, with the right hires, you do solve a little bit of those problems, but it doesn't really solve the systemic problems of it all, right? Now, the worst part about reaching what we call max capacity is you can't sell. The whole point of running a business is to keep growing, to continue to be productive to society and give something to the marketplace, creating value, right? But you reach a point now where perhaps you hit max capacity and more clients, more customers means more work, more complexity, more load for it. And so some founders typically reach this point where subconsciously they're sabotaging the sale. They don't really want to close this deal, even though they know they should because that's money coming in to the business, new cash flow. But I think this is one of the most dangerous points that you will reach in a business where you reach max capacity and subconsciously you're actually sabotaging the sale. You don't want to close the deal, right? So now here's where this new age of AI comes in. So John and Joe have been on LinkedIn as well. That's how they get clients. And they saw all these guys creating AI agents, creating AI automations. They heard about NEN, they heard about Make. They said, hey, let's create some AI agents, let's create some automations, right? And they say AI is the solution. This is what we've been looking for, right? We're perfectly in this right trajectory where this new technology has come up. It is basically the missing piece that we needed all this time. But well, AI has become a new problem because what John would then do is spend a couple weekends learning webhooks, APIs, setting up end-to-end, setting up make, and then learning about what AI agents are. Ended up creating a bunch of different shiny tools that can't really go into production. That don't really uh, takes up the whole process from the end to end. That they also spend all this time debugging, right? So my point here, right, this is the AI automation fallacy. You think that AI can solve all your problems. You think that AI is going to be able to automate all your business, all your processes in your business. It's going to solve all your problems, but unfortunately not, right? I'm a huge believer in AI, by the way. I love this new technology. I think that we are reaching a point of something big, just like the internet boom back when I was still a kid back then. But my point being that I'm a huge believer in AI. I think I've used it. I use it for my personal life. I use it for my business life as well. But the thing about it all is people think of it as this end all be all turnkey solution, when actually AI is just tools, right? You can't use a tool to solve the root cause problems. And as I said on my slide over here, tools does not equal to systems. You have to solve the system problems, the root cause problems. You cannot hire your way out. You cannot add new tools to solve the systemic problems. Now, systems, right? Why create systems? What are they? We're going to go through it right now. So, the first benefit really of creating systems is obviously to free up your time. But freeing up your time is also, to put into another perspective, is building a business that has exitable value that you can actually sell. And this is even if you don't want to sell your business, if you see it as a lifestyle business, you should still structure and try to see your business as building it to be able to exit from, right? Um, what makes a business being able to exit is the moment that it's not reliant on the founder or any single one person, but it's reliant on perhaps different roles, and you've created a nice SOP process, frameworks, and how you actually deliver an outcome. So that is what the first benefit of creating systems are. When you try to see your business as something you want to build to try and sell it, even though you're not intending to sell it, that changes your whole frame of reference on how you actually would scale and grow your business. And one of the biggest benefit of it all is really freeing up your time. The next benefit is more consistency in outputs, right? I think the best analogy I like to use is McDonald's, right? So whether you like McDonald's or not, you might think it's a shitty burger, but at least it's consistently shitty, right? The analogy I like to use with McDonald's is you could take a 16-year-old with no cooking experience, never cooked a burger in his life, put him through a certain onboarding process, going through the SOPs, and very quickly, he's able to produce this same shitty quarter pounder that tastes like most quarter pounders in the world, right? So I think this is one of the beauty of McDonald's and one of the beauties of creating systems. You have consistent outputs, you have predictability in the business, and I think what people most of the time wants is the predictability, right? Now you pair systems together with hiring A-star players. Now you have high quality burgers with consistent outputs, like consistent high quality burgers, right? So I think that's a beautiful thing, and that's the second benefit of creating systems. The last benefit is economies of scale. Really, when you want to talk about scaling, it's all about being able to grow a business without your costs increasing in the same amount of percentage, right? So while revenue increases this way, costs should almost stay the same, and I think that's where scale comes in. And when you create systems, it allows you to do that. You start to replicate yourself. You start to replicate the people around you, your team members, your roles, and that's where the beauty of AI comes in as well. So now, how do we then create systems, and where does AI come into the whole picture? I have a pyramid over here, and it's just a very simple visual. But the problem is that most people now they don't have a strong foundation of the system, and I'll show you what a strong foundation of a system looks like later on. But people always start at the top of the pyramid and come down, when actually what you need to start is from the bottom to go up. Systems first, then automation comes in, and then AI comes in on top of that. Not AI then figure out systems, because then what you're at risk of doing is creating all these shiny tools once again, which don't actually add business value. That actually creates more burden, more time wasted. Right. To summarize it all, I think what I'm trying to say here is nicely summarized with a quote from Naval Ravikant. Systems is all really about productizing yourself. Once again, you started your business because you have a skill set, you have some form of value that you believe the world can benefit from. You have an idea, you have a vision of certain kind of products and services that can be created. Whether it's from you as as the founder, or with you as your together with your co-founder, or even with you and your founding team, the first 10 of you guys. Really is all about productizing all the value that you guys can create together and being able to scale that. So that is where systemization comes in. And I think this is very nicely summarized with just two words: productize yourself. So now we know why systems are important to create. How do they look like? What exactly are systems? And that's what we're going to go through on this part of this video. So I like this definition of a system. A system is a repeatable process powered by people and tools that reliably produces a specific result with minimal effort. So it's quite a mouthful. Let's break it down. So a system is a repeatable process. So the keyword there, I guess, repeatable process, things that can be done again and again and again. And it's going to be powered by people and tools. So the people are basically your team, yourself, and then the tools, that's where the AI part comes in, that's where your software comes in. And that's something that is also part of the system that reliably produces a specific result. So each process has to create a specific result. And how do you measure whether your system is good or not is whether that process is repeatable, whether the result is specific and clear and consistent. And the last part is with minimal effort. How efficient is the system? So I think this one sentence really encapsulates what a system is, and it defines as well how good a system works. Now, to make it a little bit more digestible, I think the core foundations of a system can be broken down into just three parts: a trigger, a process, and the output. We use it as John's marketing agency use one specific process. So a new client comes in. That is the trigger. That's what triggers the start of a process. What process is triggered? Onboarding, the onboarding process. And then what the output is from the onboarding process is really that the new client is fully onboarded. So in its simple terms, every system is basically a trigger, a process, and an output. Now, how is the process then done? It's done using, remember the definition, we talk about tools. So this tools here is software and AI powered tools. So this AI powered tools is where the AI element comes in. This is where in recent times over the past 2 3 years, AI tools have been popping up a lot, and they're just changing the game. But yeah, this is the definition of it. Your process is done using the software and the AI powered tools. Now it's done by the people. So these are your people, your team that you've hired, and even yourself if you're still a part of the business. And it's also done by, now this is where the AI part comes in, AI agents or AI automations. We'll go into definitions of what AI agents, automations are, and I think that will help you to encapsulate how to create great systems and identify automation opportunities. But this is just a quick visual to help you understand what a system is. So in a nutshell, really, what your company is a series of processes that are interlinked and interwebbed, connected with each other. And all of these processes, once again, because each system is a process that starts with a trigger. So then, therefore, your business is also just a series of triggers that interlink with each other. Your trigger could be a new client comes aboard. Your trigger could be a new lead comes aboard. Your new trigger could be a new project idea, right? How do you go through the process to process each project idea? So every company is basically a series of processes interlinked with each other, triggers that are interlinked with each other, and therefore outputs. So in summary, your company is a series of outputs. That's the value that you create in a company, and the value that you capture out of your company also. Now, I want to introduce you then to the value trinity framework. When you start to visualize and see your business as a series of processes, triggers, and outputs, all interlinked and all interwebbed with each other, it can get a little bit overwhelming thinking, hey, what are all the different processes in my company, all the different outputs I need to create with my company? And that's why we've created the Value Trinity framework. It's this one easy way and simplified way to really see your whole company as a complete system and subsystems, and then you know how things flow with each other. Now, just to restate, the whole point of creating something like this is to keep it simple. I do hear of people who create systems in their business, creating documentations of systems, so attempting to create the systems in the first place, but they document every single part of the business, and no one actually looks at the documentations after that. Nobody actually uses it, right? I think my core belief is that systems are like products, and great products are created for the people who actually use them, function on them, right? So likewise with systems, it has to be created for the end user, and most of the times, this end user is yourself and the people who work for you. And so you want to make sure that your systems are kept simple, easy to read, and easy to digest and easy to use, right? So this is what the value trinity framework is meant to actually solve. I like this quote from Leonardo da Vinci, which says, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication." And I think something that's much more relevant to what we're talking about is from Gauss' law, which says that every complex system has invariably evolved from a simple system that worked. All right, so now we are at my Miro board. This is the value trinity framework. I'm going to go through what you see is basically a bunch of different boards that you got to fill up. There's some guiding questions also and some very brief instructions that you go through. I'm going to start with the first board. As you can see, it's empty, but we have a sticky stack here. Just go in, pick it up, put in your sticky stack. You can change the sizes if you need to. So your first part here really is to map out all your products and offers. Now, products, I put it as kind of catch-all term of whether you sell a service, whether you sell a product. Really, I think also the first step to systemizing a business is not looking at itself as always doing custom work. You have to kind of start to look towards productizing your service as well. So you need to kind of put it into a certain bucket, and then you want to put what all those buckets of services and products you have are. So just list them all out here. And you might offer a million different services, but probably most people only buy three. So don't overcomplicate this. Once again, veer towards the side of simplicity. Maybe just put the three that you sell the most and gives you the most revenue for. And that will be your board here. All right, so simple. You just put it as product one, product two, product three. That is the products and offers board. Fill that out. Now, the second part is ICPs. So what ICPs are basically ideal client profiles. Same thing, get your sticky stack, put it down here, right? Just list out all the ICPs that you can think of from the top of your head. Say if I was a web design agency, I might be creating websites for e-commerce companies. I might be having marketing agencies, right? And perhaps I work with, I don't know, consulting companies, right? So these might be my three top client profiles. I could even go specific and say CEO of this company, maybe 5 to 10 employees, so on and so forth, right? The point is really just mapping out your ICPs. What would be nice if you can do also is just start to link them together. If you see that product one, a lot of them buys this, right? Then you want to do that. Let's do that. The shortcut for just creating these lines is just press L. You can kind of easily and quickly do that. Then the next part is team structure. So typically, you as a founder, you're at the top here. Maybe you're the CEO, maybe you're the CTO, maybe you're the CFO or whatever. You want to map out where you're at here, and then maybe if you have business partners, just put them alongside you, and then you want to map the team that goes underneath that. So an easy way to conceptualize this is to look at who you've already hired because it's much easier to remember people. But the end goal of this is really mapping out roles. So you might be attached to maybe you're doing CEO, you're doing CMO as well. Then that could be you, right? So this becomes CEO, CMO. And then maybe you're also doing sales. So sales or closer, right? That's a simplified version of it. Then your maybe you can get like a photo of yourself, put it and attach it all into this team here, right? So you can see where you're being the bottleneck because you're taking out multiple different roles. You might see also certain the team that's underneath you, maybe like one particular person is taking out three different roles and maybe she's being stretched too thin. So that's another way of mapping out your organizational structure. And this is very important because it gives you clarity and knowing who's in your team and what they're doing, and who's overworked or who's taking up too much responsibility, or who could be getting some of the automations helping them as quick wins. So that's the next thing. Now, here's another one. Get your sticky stack once again. I like to bring this guy around with me. And then just start listing out automation ideas, because while I did emphasize that automation ideas will come up from you completing the value trinity framework, most business owners already have an idea and impression of what they want to automate, what automation ideas they have. So just having a place to capture them would be great. So you have maybe automation idea one, automation idea two, and then just do one more. Automation idea three. So just list them out, right? Just having a space to get all your initial ideas out there, manifested into one place first, and then we can actually start seeing which one we should take action on. Okay. Now, we're going to the real meat of what the value trinity framework is. Why is it called value trinity? I think it's just brandable to have something like that consistent. But I think trinity, because if I were to break it down simply, every organization has just three parts to it. The first one is creation, value creation. How do you create value and how do you capture a piece of the value? Really, an organization, a business is all about creating value for the marketplace and people exchanging monetary value, and then you capturing a piece of that. So we've mapped out your ICP and your products. What you want to do then is to choose one of the ICPs and choose one of the products, put it here. Or you can choose multiple ICPs too. I think the main important part is what product is this for, and then you want to map it out based on this different departments over here. So we got attention. It's basically how do you get attention, how do you get eyeballs appearing with your brand, and how do you funnel those eyeballs into leads, people inquiring about that particular product. And then sales, how do you convert these leads, these people inquiring, into actually saying, I want to buy something. And then from being, I want to buy, how do you get them to actually give you the money? How do you transact that money? By getting, maybe sending an invoice through Stripe, maybe sending them a contract that they have to sign, sending a proposal before that. So this is where you just kind of map it all out, right? Keep it high level. You don't have to say, John creates this proposal and then sends it to Sally, who creates this contract to, and then checks John's proposal. You don't have to go into all that detail. Really, just mapping out, create proposal, send contract, create invoice, something like simple like that, right? Just mapping it all out. Now you might have more steps here, more steps there. So this is a mirror board. You can kind of adjust and just move things around, right? So that's where the beauty of this system is, right? Just flexible. Now, once you collect money, then it's onboarding. How do you onboard the client? If you're a product business, somebody pays you. How do you do fulfillment? Maybe. How do you onboard them? It could be a welcome email saying, welcome, thank you for joining this program, or thank you for buying this product. And then delivery is fulfillment, right? How do you, if you're selling a product, how do you send a message to your warehouse and supplies? How do they do shipping, customer support, so on and so forth? And then retaining referral is just how do we retain people? Either we upsell them with more things, we retain them onto our SaaS platform, or retain them on our service. And how do you get referrals out of them? So these are the steps that go into it also. So some questions here, really question prompts is, marketing lead gen, how do you generate leads today? What tools do you use? Just when you're going through this template, I'm not going to go through each one of them because this video will get very long. But go ahead, download this template, start working on it, and then read these question prompts. These question prompts will allow you to start having your brain juices flowing and being able to fill this out. Okay. Now, once you've done this for value creation flow, so it's a little bit comprehensive, right? It takes this work. This is work, but trust me, it's going to help you a lot. Now, once you map this out, you want to take your stars. So, where is it? Okay, I don't have it here, but basically, you should get like emoji stars somewhere. I'll mirror for this. Give it stars. Just get a star, right? Like, and then make as many as you want, right? 5, and start rating each part of your system based on stars. So how well do you think your attention department is working on? Like how well are they functioning? I mean, they just rate it like 5 stars. leads could be 2 stars, 3 stars, so on and so forth, right? And you kind of want to rate that out. Then the next part is you also want to list out all the software and tools they use. Maybe if like one step does use 10 softwares, then maybe don't use all 10. Like you don't have space for that on the board. The board is also meant to be kind of constrictive and constrained so you don't like make it overcomplicated. So list out like maybe onboarding just uses three tools: Slack, Notion, Stripe. Yeah, something like that. So just kind of get the logos of it or get your sticky stack again and just put what those softwares are, right? So that's value creation. I'm going to show you later on after I go through the foundations of what these three are, a completed version of it. But let's just go into quickly into value infrastructure. So what is value infrastructure? Value infrastructure is the infrastructure that allows you to then get your value creation moving, right? We have a way to market, we have a way to collect money, we have a way to deliver the product and service. But what are the support systems around that? So things like finance, HR, compliance, systems, strategy, technology, right? So I put some guiding questions here. Now, where infrastructure flow is a little bit different is you don't want to start mapping out and creating workflows on your own. You want to start rating each part of your process here. And once again, we have these question prompts that allow you to think how well would you rate each part of this department? Is it 1 star? Is it 5 star? So once again, the rating is 1 star is sucks, 5 star is super satisfied, super systemized, super efficient, right? That's how you kind of rate it. And then when you look at like maybe HR sucks, it's like 1 star. Then that's where you can start to map out flows. Um, then the question prompts: How do you hire? Map out the flow for that. How do you onboard new stuff? Map out the flow for that. How do you manage team's performance? Map out a flow for that. Right. That's where you start seeing the bottlenecks. That's where you start to have questions and answers that comes in. It's like, hey, I know we are kind of onboarding staff in one way, and then the next time we change it again, can we kind of make it the same consistent throughout, right? And what softwares are we using? So really, this whole rating system is to get you clear on what the flow is and where you should start to go into creating flows around, right? You don't want to possibly create flows around every single part of it, though you can, but that's a long-term project. And once again, veer towards simplicity. Having too many flows, which nobody actually uses unless you're a huge company. But for the most SMEs, we don't need super complex departments and flow charts and everything. Really veering to SSI simplicity is just very useful. Now, the last part of the value trinity is value innovation. How do we innovate? How do we test new ideas? How do we create new products and services? And so I put a very nice, I guess, broad enough term to describe how new products and new ideas come in. So you have ideas, and then you prioritize these ideas. Which one should we test? And then you create an experiment, which is basically how you run projects. Um, yeah, how you run projects, how do you execute on those projects, how do you review whether that experiment, that project is a success or not. And then if let's say we wanted to test this new offer idea we have, and we have to have a level of reviewing, right? Did that experiment, did that product find some form of traction? How do we know how do we base that? How do you test the hypothesis in the first place? That's the review step. Last one is productizing it. All right, so now we've tested this idea works in theory or in practice, right? In our small sample test, how do we productize it, put it into the marketplace, and scale? So that's how you create new ideas, new products, new innovation. And a lot of people kind of wing their way through this most of the time, but having a flow for this would just brings a lot more certainty into how you would be more strategic in the long term. Okay, so those are the three parts of the value trinity system, right? The most important is the value creation flow. If you don't do anything, just do this one first. Second one is this, then the last one would be that. That would be my recommendation. Now, how does it look like when it's completely filled up? Let me just give you an example. Let's say we use John's marketing agency. So these are some ways that he probably would be doing: cold emails, LinkedIn outreach, YouTube content. Yeah, I feel like we should do LinkedIn ads since it's a marketing agency. Okay, so this is the attention level. How does he capture eyeballs? Then leads is how do we turn those eyeballs into potentially clients. So all these maybe it either goes straight to a discovery call, or it goes into a free PDF they can download, and then an email newsletter that brings them to a discovery call, and then you go to demo call proposal, and then sometimes calls get lost in between, and then we just need to do follow-ups. So this is just a whole process mapped out on a very high level. Okay, so you can see it's very simple, right? Stripe order form, DocuSign contract, welcome email, so on and so forth, all the way until we upsell them, right? So that is the whole flow. So step one, do this first. Step two, um, oh, wait, sorry, this is all value creation. So step two, put out the different software tools that you have. So we are instantly, for example, for cold emails, email newsletter, we use HubSpot. Discovery calls, maybe we use Calendly, and then we have HubSpot for proposals. Stripe order form, straightforward. Stripe, DocuSign here, welcome email, HubSpot, Slack channel. So you can see that I start putting out logos of the tools that I'm using. This just helps the people who are doing the automation for you, or helps you to kind of see which tools are you using and how you can kind of structure the automation. Right. Then the last one is actually assigning people into it. So you got the okay, and the next step is assigning people into the parts of the process. So we got maybe say John takes over cold emails, code LinkedIn outreach or LinkedIn ads or whatever. Then Joe does YouTube content and X content, content marketing, right? And then Emily does she owns the PDF part, making sure that those lead magnets are great. Emily also does the email newsletter, right? So really just attaching some names to things. Um, you can see like maybe Laurie takes care of onboarding onwards. So you can kind of be flexible about it. If you think that somebody has to be attached to one particular part of the process, put it there. If not, if you think that that person takes over or is in charge of the whole complete process that's onboarding, put it in there, right? So it's super flexible. So that's the next step, right? Assigning people into your process. And then the last one is the actual scoring system. So I realized I have the star scoring system here. Basically, just take one, duplicate it, and then just put it and put it wherever you think is relevant. So what you do is to kind of score each of these parts, and then if you see that something is kind of low on that score, for example, cold emails is just two. Now, whoever is given it a 2-star rating would start asking, why is it a two? How do we define it as a two? Then you might want to create a sub system, a sub flow of cold emails. So then now you're going to go to the nitty gritty details of how do we actually scrape leads? How do we create cold email copy? How do we set up campaigns? How do we measure these campaigns? That all is actual flows on its own. But you see, I will only realize that I might need to go deeper into cold emails if I had mapped out and assigned it all like that, right? So this is just only the value creation part of it, right? You can see it is comprehensive, it is work. But the moment you do that, um, light bulbs start coming into your head. You start to see, hey, there's a different form of clarity that I've never seen my business in. As a business owner, being part of the process, you might be stuck in all that mess. And sometimes you just really need to see it from an outsider perspective. Then you have this newfound clarity. And then that's where you can see that automation start to be a lot clearer as well. You're not automating random tasks, but you're actually saying the automation helps this part, the automation helps that part, right? So that is the value trinity framework. Once again, if you're watching this on the YouTube video, go into the description somewhere. If you're watching this on my social media, I'll put it somewhere basically. You can go and download this mirror board, and I would really suggest you to start mapping it out for your business, right? So that's mainly it. All right, so by now you would have a clear idea on how exactly you can implement the value trinity framework into your company and what the benefits of them are. But I want to quickly summarize the steps again. So the first step, as you've seen from the whiteboard tutorial that I've shown you, is really about mapping out all the products and ICPs that you have. So products it's a catch-all term for services. Even if you have a service or you deliver services, you have different kind of services. You can all kind of map that as products, list that as products, and then ICPs are your ideal client profiles. For each product, who are the ideal clients that you have? Who are the ideal clients that you serve? Now, don't tell me you serve everyone, right? Look at the 80-20. What is the 20% of customers that produces 80% of the results, 80% of the revenue? You want to go and find what those are, map it into clear profiles, and put that inside of your value trinity framework whiteboard. The second step is to look at all the different roles that are required inside of a company, what it exists today, and what would be that nice ideal state in the next step. That would be your organizational structure. You will map out each of these roles. It could be your CEO, your CTO, your CPO, and then everyone else underneath that. And then you want to map as well the people that are attached to it. So, for perhaps if you are a business owner who's stuck in your business doing multiple things, what you might want to do is to tag your name on multiple roles as well. Then you can see where your time is actually being spent, what are the different roles you're doing, and what you could eventually start to outsource and automate next. So that is the point of creating an organizational structure. Now, then we go into the right components of it, the three components, the meat of the value trinity framework. And the first one is value creation. So, what value creation is how does your business create value? At the end of the day, every organization and company, I think Peter Thiel defined it pretty well, is a company is about creating value and then capturing a piece of the value. In that capturing is monetary terms. So it's a monetary form of value. So really for each of the products that you have, you want to kind of map out what is the value creation flow. And the value creation flow starts off with the point of how you get leads, how you get attention, how do you get people inquiring about your services or your products, how do you convert these people into actual sales, how do you collect money, how do you onboard people, how do you go all the way through fulfillment, and then after that retaining them or getting a referral, right? So each of these products should have a value creation flow. Is basically mapping out from the start how do you capture attention all the way to the end, how are you retaining them or how are you getting referrals out of all these clients. So keep it simple. You don't have to map out every single piece of the step in this whole value creation flow. Once again, keeping it simple, keeping it high level allows you to start to see your whole process from a high level, and then you'll be able to go into details if you need to. And you want to do this for maybe your core products. If you have three core services, do that for the three core services. Next is in value infrastructure. So this is second component, which is your BAU stuff. What are the support systems that allows you to create value? And this could come in from your HR, your finance, your compliance, even your systems infrastructure, which is how you create new systems, how you automate things, even your technology infrastructure. If you're not a technology company, you need some form of IT support and all that. That is all mapped out under value infrastructure. Right? You want to kind of map those out. Once again, I think there'll be a link somewhere. We can go and hit and sign up to get your template. In there are some guiding questions that you can start to answer and to think through to map out and define what those infrastructure components are. The next step, which most people tend to really forget and they keep it all in their head or not even have a process for, is value innovation. How do you innovate on value? How do you innovate on creating new value? And this could be in the form of creating new offers, new products, new services, or even testing new ideas out there. So value innovation is really all about getting ideas out. How do you test them? How do you refine them? How do you see which ideas work, which ideas do not work? How do you prioritize ideas? And for the ideas that work, how do you put them into production and it's part of your standard operating procedures. So that is really the three components: value creation, value infrastructure, and then the last one, value innovation. Now, once you mapped out each of these components, what you want to then do is to rate them from like 1 star to 5 stars. 1 star is where it's inconsistent outputs, it's inefficient, it's taking a lot of time, or there's not much documented out in there. 5 star is where it's perfect, right? It's a dialed in, well oiled machine. The process is beautiful, it's documented, it's pretty much automated, it doesn't take up too much time, and the output is high quality and consistent. So you want to rate each part of it from 1 to 5. Do that for your value creation, do that for your value innovation, and your infrastructure as well. Then you want to assign owners and tools. So each of these high level components, you want to put owner to it. So put your specific person's name there, who is in charge of the or who is responsible for that department, and then the tools as well. So what are the softwares that you're using, or the main top three used software for that department or for that particular flow. So that's what you want to put out. And then number three, map out flows. So we already mapped out the value creation flow, but the value infrastructure flow is just for you to answer a series of questions to also rate them to see from 1 to 5. um, Realistically, you do not want to create a bunch of different diagrams for every single part of your business, but you want to start doing them for those that you think can be improved or would benefit a lot from more clear documentation. So that's the last step. Now it goes deeper. So what I've given to you is really just a good starting point. The once again, 20% of creating systems that produces 80% of the results or the value that you can get out of mapping out your systems. You can go deeper, right? Like creating SOPs. I think that's a whole separate video on its own. How do you create simple yet effective SOPs? What are systems champions? System champions are basically the people who are out there focused on creating systems and automating your business. And then the last one, recurring task, right? So it really goes deeper. There's so many things that we can go into how to create systems, and everybody have their own definition of how it works for them. But I want you to be rest assured to really veer towards the side of simplicity. Start simple. Start mapping out your value trinity framework, get out your diagram, put out your flows, rate them, assign an owner and the tool to it. And this will be your first step in diagnosing where you're at in your current business model, how systemized your whole business is, and where are the opportunities that you can start to automate. Which, speaking of automation, then your next question would be, I came to this video wanting to know about AI and automation stuff. So where does it all come into this? I need to create systems. I know I'm going to use the value trinity framework, but now where does AI come in? So that's what I'm going to go through right now. So before we go into how you can actually put out the AI stuff, you have to define what are the different parts of AI automation. And I have 5 different definitions here. We'll go through them, and then you start to have a very clear idea on how they fit into the picture of your value trinity framework. So the first one, I call it the operating system, but I guess in another word, it's just your tech stack, your software stack. Where does your work get done? Where do you capture tasks? Where do you put a knowledge base? Where do you do your documents? Where do you keep your leads, right? So it's really just mapping out first what is the operating system you have. Where the what are the 20% of tools? Once again, I really love the Pareto principle because it's super relevant, especially when it comes to creating something simple that's effective. What are the 20% of tools that you use 80% of the time? And so you want to kind of map that out. That is your operating system. You need to know what that is. So that's why I call it the operating system. The next one is AI powered tools. So with the recent rise of AI, SaaS is no longer just an interface over a database. It has this thinking large language model that allows you to manipulate data and then show you this new form of data in your interface. And that's what AI powered tools are. You have your chat GPTs, your Claudes, um, not the model itself, but the actual app, web app, whatever you use. And then you have even SaaS tools right now like Descript, which is a AI powered tool that allows you to edit videos and create content. So this is the other second definition of what I call AI powered tools or AI SaaS or AI software. Now the next part is automation, right? So what is automation? And how do automation works? So if you're not a tech guy, you want to understand how automation works. How do you link softwares together? This is the very simplified way of explaining it, but essentially the glue between different tools is via the API and webhook, allowing you to transfer data between your ClickUp to Go High Level, ClickUp to Slack. It's really just a series of API and webhook calls that transfers this data, translate it so that the other party, the other tool can actually read it and understand the context around it. So automations are really just the transferring of data, as I mentioned, and automation is about determining what step in your process you need to take with each tool. So if you have ClickUp, you want to maybe do a step 1 to Google Drive, step 2 to Descript, and then step 3 to Slack, right? That could be a very basic workflow. Now, this is why we come back to the importance of mapping out your value trinity framework, right? When you do that mapping out of your flows, you will start to see where your processes are, and then where you can start to identify where AI can, or not AI, but automation can come in from the step 1 to the step 2 to the step 3, transferring of this data. So you might not even need manpower on that point. That's where automation comes in. So this is just a definition of automation, really just a deterministic step of transferring data between a series of tools. Now, then what is AI automation, right? So we have automation now. Let's talk about AI automation. And it's very simply within the automation itself, integrating a large language model or an AI model to come in. So the step one could be from ClickUp, then it calls into ChatGPT. And then ChatGPT, because it can take in this data from ClickUp, it can start to make decisions, or it could even manipulate the data, and then send it to Slack, send it to Google Drive, and then send it to Descript in this particular case, right? So the only difference between an AI, between an automation and an AI-enabled automation is that now we are having the AI to come in. The power of an AI is its ability to think in that sense, and also its ability to manipulate data in the output and the form that you want from your different tools. Now, that's where we go into AI agents. So people always like to use the term loosely. And, it's tough to kind of define it these days because AI automation and AI agents, there's a very nice intersection where they overlap quite a bit. But I guess the simplest form of defining AI agents is where you can put it, its biggest utilization today is to put it within an automation flow. So if you look at my flow chart here again, ClickUp starts with a step one, calls maybe a ChatGPT powered AI agent. And then with the ChatGPT node, the AI agent node, let's say we do that on end, it has the ability to get an identity, a role, and tells us, and it knows what it needs to do, or knows its job, what it needs to do. And then he has access to tools. The tools are your ClickUps, your Slack, your Google Drive, and your Descript, and all your other tools or whatever you have. And now the AI is the one who decides what step two is. So step one, call the AI agent from ClickUp. Step two, I could go back to ClickUp and look at another database. I could go into my Go High Level CRM and maybe find a prospect. I could go into Slack, send a message. I could go into Google Drive, create a new Google Doc, right? So the power of AI agent is that now you don't need a deterministic workflow. The agent itself decides what it needs to do, right? And so that's what AI agents are about, right? It's allowed to kind of capture a role. It's allowed to think, and it has tools to do work for you. So I think this is a very simplified definition, but it helps to at least um, get most people on board into understanding how to implement this within their business. So then here's the series of questions you can start asking to help you to identify AI automation opportunities. You've created your value trinity diagrams of your workflows, you've rated them, you know what tools you're using. Then these are the series of questions you can ask, right? What can be automated? What are certain parts of the process that are high value, but maybe they only use two tools, three tools, and they just data transfers between each other that are typical, like the human is actually doing to kind of transfer that data. Could we just use AI and AI automations to do that, right? So most of the time we can't. What can be semi-automated, right? So certain parts of the process shouldn't be completely automated as well, or it could, maybe it can't, right? You might need a human in the loop. You might still need a team member to be a part of it. So those are processes that are semi-automated. You automate maybe step 1 to 5, and then step 5 to 8 would be done by a human. So those are semi-automations. What can we use AI tools with, right? So with the rise of AI, there are a lot of new tools right now, whether it comes to video editing, photo editing, even Photoshop itself is integrating different AI features. So whatever tool you're using, you want to start researching as well. Are there any tools out there that has integrated AI? Because then they just make the whole experience a little bit more pleasant, or they just make things a bit more faster, more productive for your company. So you might want to consider switching to AI tools as well. They could be very quick wins. You don't have to actually create AI agents. You don't have to actually create automations for it. The team who has created that SaaS software, that AI SaaS, has already done the thinking and the system prompts and configuring, and you just need to use those tools to get the benefits of AI, right? Now, then the last one is really, where are the bottlenecks? Where is the bottlenecks where your team is taking up a lot of time, and those processes are really important, high value processes? Or another part of the bottleneck is, once again, we talk about trying to save you time as the founder. Where are you the bottleneck, right? Where are you spending a lot of your time with the whole value creation, the value infrastructure, and as well as the value innovation flow, right? And what can be first delegated to somebody else, or perhaps even creating an AI agent that helps replace part of your work. I guess a quick win, an example here would be, let's say you're a founder, and most of the times your hires are really asking you a bunch of questions that you feel that can actually be answered by a chatbot or an agent. You could create a version of you that's that's trained on company data, trained on a company knowledge base, trained on best practices and how you think. And that itself is another nice AI agent where before they come and ask you questions, they should ask these AI questions. And if they can get their result and question out of that or get the answer out of that chatbot, then they don't have to come to you. But if they still need further digging, that's where they come to you. You have a conversation together with you. Maybe they book a 15-minute call using your own Calendly, come to the office, talk about it, and then you record that call. Recording that call, if you then can decide, should I put this back into the company knowledge base? And then you do so, you put it into the company knowledge base. Now, if let's say the next fifth hire of employee comes in with a similar question, now your AI is trained to answer that same question. You see what I'm saying? So really, I think the beauty of AI agents is really replicating itself, replicating your team members, and comes back down to what Navarro Ravikant talks about of productize yourself. So that is an example of bottlenecks and how AI automation could help. Now, just a quick bonus to help you to decide, right? When you look at when you answer these questions, you ask yourself these questions, and then you have a list of automation ideas, right? Now, to help you decide on which automations you should start building upon first and what are the quick, easy wins, is to use an AI automation criteria, which is basically a table that I've created. Once again, these are all in templates. You can go through this table and just decide. Now, the criteria is what you see on the left. On the top, you see score one, score two, score three. So each for each automation idea you have, you want to put them through this scoring system. The higher the score, the higher value or higher importance and urgency you should put into creating the automation. So the number of tools involved is the first criteria. I put 5+ tools becomes a score one, and 1 to 2 tools become a score three. What I mean by tools, once again, is the software. If let's say an automation idea I have only requires me to send information between ClickUp to Slack, right? That is only 2 tools. It's so much more easy than to create a automation that requires Slack, Notion, ClickUp, Google Drive, and then HubSpot, right? So that's a lot more complicated. It's a lot more time required to invest into it. So that's why it gets a score of one. Number of people involved. So number of people involved in this process, right? So if the number of people involved within that SOP is only a one-person job and it maybe takes up only 1 to 2 tools, then perhaps it's worth actually doing. Perhaps it's a quick, easy win that you just save maybe a couple of, like 2 hours of a person's time, right? That 2 hours could be spent doing something else. So therefore, the lesser people, the higher the easier it is to actually score that. Once again, if you bring 4 people on board and you have a systems champion or automation expert come in to help you automate things, they have to collaborate with 4 people and build the process around 4 people, which just takes up a lot of time as well. Complexity of the project becomes a bit more heavy. So number of people is an important criteria to look at. Process repetition trigger is how often this process is done. If it's a daily process, doing that save you so much time, right? Now, process clarity is also another important one where you want to create automations around things that are already very clear. Like there is a certain step between step one to step five. These are the 5 steps. That's definite. We can create automations around that very quickly. If you're very fuzzy on what the automation is, I think YC or I think Paul Graham has a saying, do things that don't scale. And what he means by that is really you can't automate things also without actually going through the groundwork to see what the clarity is around that process. So really do things first, don't automate. Do it in the most scrappy, most time wasted way. And until you find out what that maybe 5 different possible options are in step one to step five, and then what the best path to take, then you can start to get clear on the process and you can after that automate it. So that's what process clarity is all about. Manual time saved per run. So what this means is how much man hours are being spent on the process, and if you automate this, how much manual time is that being saved, right? I put here a low, medium, high because each company is a bit different. So you want to define that, like how much man hours are being spent. And typically, I like to define man hours. People always say that they work 8 hours a day. We go to a job from 9 a.m. to leaving at 6, 7 p.m. whatever. But I don't like to define man hours based on that. I define man hours based on deep work, how much time is being spent by the person being there in the moment, doing the work, focus, no distraction, no Facebook, no lunch breaks, no chitty chatting around, right? Actually focused, how long does that take, right? Could be 30 minutes. And most people probably work only like 4 to 5 hours a day of deep work, if we're being realistic. Maybe much less than that. Logic complexity. So logic complexity is basically how complex the decision is around the automation. If there is step one and step 1A, 1B, 1C, that's kind of complex. So you want to kind of find a automation that's simpler to build, right? That could be a quick win. Now, then the next part is deterministic, non-deterministic. This is basically, is there step one, step two, step three, step four, step five? Is there a series of steps that's clear? Or could it be step one, then step three, then step four, then step two, then step five, right? Now, doing that means you might need an AI agent node. You need to create an AI agent within your automation. And so that becomes a bit more complex. So I put it as a lower score. But once again, lower score doesn't mean it's something you shouldn't work on, right? It should just be maybe prioritized later on. You want to get quick wins. You want to work on automations that save you time very quickly. The more complex the project is, the more debugging time and optimization is required after that. And that's where the time wasted comes in. Build effort, I guess this is more of a very subjective thing. How how much effort is required to build that can also be mapped out to the rest of the other criteria like logic complexity, process clarity, so on and so forth. In consequence of failure, right? So if this process fails, how what is the what's the severity of the consequence of that failure, right? If it's something that relates to clients, for example, that could be a higher severity of failure. You don't really want to automate that part first until you get your foundation set. So this is just another criteria that's important to score on. All right, so this is the list of automation criteria. Maybe you have a list of 10, 20 different automation ideas. You want to put them all through this scoring system, and then you can sort them from the highest score to the lowest. Once again, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't work on the lowest, but the highest is just those that can give you easy, quick wins. They're not that hard to build. You can use something like make.com and you can just build them up very quickly and start saving you time immediately, right? Then after that, you can work on the higher leverage, more complex automations that requires AI agents and logic complexity is quite crazy. So that's where you can start building out those. But really having this priority ranking allows you to build quick, easy wins, and then after that, build the harder ones, the heavier ones, and those that are super complex. You might not even want to build those out. Maybe you might want to continue just managing the system, getting more clear on the process. So it's just a nice way to really map all your automation ideas in one place. Now, next, I just want to very quickly touch on my whole philosophy and idea behind how great automations are created. So the business system is really the foundation like we mapped up earlier on in the value trinity framework. So that's the important part. There's domain knowledge, right? Being able to know your domain and what you're trying to systemize on. That's a very important key part about creating great automations and great systems or a great company as a whole. The next part is the tech, the AI part. Now we have the systems, we know what we want to automate. How do we automate them? And are we able to do it from a technical perspective? And for the most part of it, I honestly think this is not extremely difficult. For most parts of tech, it's already figure outable. You just need to spend the time to do it. You get a tech wizard to help you build it out. And with AI, things are so much easier these days. But the more important part that people tend to miss is really the UX element. I think I very briefly touched earlier on that great systems are like great products, and great products are built with good UX in mind. UX is all about user experience. The products that you create for your users, what you define a good product is that it's easy to use, people love using them, and people actually use them. The same goes with a system, right? A system like automations and the operating system that you create for people to do work in, it has to be pleasant to use. It has to be easy to use. It has to have clarity that people want to use them. Having very complex, intricate systems, they're just more confusing. There has so much information. that people don't want to use them, that people resist using them, is, to be honest, a very bad system, even with all the thought that has went into it. So really veering to the side of simplicity first and iteratively improving upon them. And as part of your job as a founder, or perhaps if you were to hire a systems champion to help you out, really what the system champion's job is to get feedback from users who are using the system, who are looking at the SOPs, who are interacting together with the AI agents that is created to work together with your team. How is that whole system working, and what the feedback they have from it, and how you can improve upon your system. That's one way that you should start thinking about. Now, very briefly, let's talk about AI automation tools. I think this is going to be a whole separate video on its own, and this video has gone very, very long already, more than I thought. But I just want to briefly touch upon it also. Some people might have questions around it. So, NAN, Make, Zapier, what should I use, right? I think really you don't have to be stuck on one tool, to be honest. And also, it depends on your technical skills. If you are a technical person, I think NAN is a beautiful, one of the best piece of automation software you can use. The reason for it is firstly open source. You can host it, self-host it on your own. And the more important part, I think, like, I'm just used to it. Creating AI agents is just easier in NAN, in my opinion, in my own personal experience. The flexibility of NAN is also really there. Like for most automation workflows you want to create, you can do it all in NAN. Now, if you're somebody who is not really invested into becoming technical or hiring somebody who's technical and you want to kind of do things yourself, maybe outsource to freelancers and contractors here and there for things that are above your skill set level, then maybe something like Make or Zapier is great. In fact, Zapier just launched AI agents as well. So I, from what I'm seeing, it's rather promising. And Zapier has built a great product, right? So if you want to get started, just start with Zapier. Create something on Zapier or Make.com. Make is a little bit more complex than Zapier. But if you can start with something simple like Zapier and then try and play out the AI agents feature, I think you can go very far and get a lot of things that you need done, especially the basic parts. So if we look at the scoring criteria here, the first few quick wins are the highest scoring systems. And to be honest, for the most part, those can be done with Zapier and Make.com. So I'd say use these tools if you want. If you're gonna be investing heavily into automation, you say like, hey, I'm serious about this. I don't know want to do it myself. I'm gonna get like a team to do it. I'll say NAN is your way to go. I do highly recommend them. Some special mentions as well. I have a non-technical friend who runs his own company, co-email agency, and they use Lindy to create AI agents. And I've played around with Lindy. I think it's one of the best tools for creating AI agents and automation in general. It's just so easy to use, well-built product. So Lindy AI is something I do recommend. There's also Gumloop. Not tried it too much, but a lot of people have been saying good stuff about it. So go do your research, check that out too. I guess in a separate video, I'll do a more detailed breakdown, actually testing it out and actually trying to create the same workflow and see how difficult, hard, or easy it is. So Lindy AI, special mention for that. Relevance AI, very briefly played with it. I think it's just a fun way to create AI agents. Like the creators of that product has really went into creating a nice user experience. So I love Relevance. It's just never been taken it into production yet. I guess I need to spend a bit more time. Nothing to do with like the tool or anything. It's just I've been building everything on end to end, so I don't really need relevance as much. But I would highly recommend looking into them as well. And then you have your basic chat GPTs, your Anthropics, Gemini and all that. Um, these are your web apps that you can use. If you use something like Anthropic, Claude, you can create MCPs servers with NAN, and then use that to create automations and trigger them within your Claude web app itself, right? So these are some other important tools that you need to take note of. What I like them to do that I see as a quick win you can start to think about for your business also is creating custom GPTs. So very basic social media copy, for example, not too complex, more branding related stuff. What you want to do is create a custom GPT, right? Train it on all, give it a knowledge base on all your current social media copy, how you write copy, what is the different formulas that you use, and then you can give that to your social media manager, and she can save a lot of time in creating quick short form copy. So that is an example of creating custom GPTs and using it within your company. So yeah, this is just a quick overview of AI automation tools. This I'll do another separate video in the future on breaking down each part of it and what you want to use. I also will include at the bottom the the templates, right, of the value trinity framework. But I've created a custom GPT, which will interview you, ask you a series of questions, just talk to it, and it will give you a very simple recommendation, a very simple but comprehensive recommendation on which AI tools you should use. So check that out. You can go and hit and get access to it for free as well. Now, I just want to summarize this video. AI is not magic, right? But it just stretches the possibilities of automation. Back then, automation is just step one to step five. But now with AI, this has been, the possibilities have been stretched. The beauty of it, the beauty of automation is just amazing right now. And everybody, your average business owner can get access to all these tools, with just a couple clicks on the button, paying a couple API credits. It's something that has given a lot of power back to us business owners, even the non-technicals who really start to see their business from a system. Then automation and AI becomes something that's very relevant and very, very helpful to your business. So once again, the system is the foundation. Start from the bottom and go up. System first, then automations and AI is built upon that. So once again, I've been saying this. If you want to implement whatever we talked about today, you can very easily do so with the Miro board. Just go down, click the link below somewhere in this video. I probably will put it in the comments or in the description box or whatever. Go in, put in your email, and you get access to this Miro templates. Start building your value trinity framework. It could probably take you a full day of focus. But if you want to take your time on it, really sit and maybe get your co-founder to jam together on it, maybe take the whole week to really work on that. And once you do that, once again, the benefit really is you start to see your business from a different lens. You start to have so much clarity on how things are being functioning from the moment you create, for the moment you create value, right? How do you get people seeing your products? How do you deliver that? And then after that, all the other parts of it. How do you test new ideas? How do you create new products? How do you even do HR? How do you do finance and compliance and all those other stuff? And then you can start to see ideas of automation that just comes to you. These are insights that are done and gained by the work that's required of building a strong foundation and seeing your whole business with clarity. And that's what the Value Trinity framework is supposed to help you with that. So click the link below. Just go ahead, download it. And if you have any questions, feel free to just put in the comments. Once again, this might not be perfect video. I'm just figuring shit out as I go, but I'm just sharing my learnings here on what seems to be helpful to people. All right. So if you have any questions, you want to give a bit of feedback on certain things, let me know, put it in the comments, and I'll speak to you guys again soon. Thanks.